All right. I sort of feel like we're starting. We're at the first class because we had the week off and we're starting all over again. It's kind of hard to get fired up. So the lesson today is this 3-color palette, limiting ourselves to 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 yellow. And I'm going to be using, the top one, the cobalt, alizarin, and aureolin. Oops, there we go. There are a lot of people in the class here using ultramarine, alizarin, and raw sienna. That's at the bottom. The reason why you just can't pick any red, yellow, or blue is that some colors are known as transparent colors or staining colors, and they're very clear and you can see right through to the paper, and some have more pigment or clay in them. And if you pick a pigmented color like cobalt and raw ochre and a cadmium red, all of them are going to be so dense that the watercolor will start to look like acrylic paint or something. So the combinations I gave you in that homework are ones that other artists use, and it's tried and true, and they kind of work. It's a balance of clear colors and more opaque colors. And I don't want to get into each color, which is which. I also want to do, we've done trees before, globbing greens in everywhere, but here the trees are like, they're like skeletons. You see a brownish, yellowish, brownish shape, these fan shapes coming up from the trunks. So you see through them. Yep. But yet you also, if you squint your eye at the picture, you see that they are darker than the sky. So it's kind of like, oh, well, so how do I do that? So that'll be one of the sort of lessons of this one. I noticed that the buildings have they perspective-wise, they slope from left down to the right pretty strongly. Well, not severely, but you get that sense. And I'm going to, in my sky, I'm going to counter that with some movement that goes this way, so that the whole thing isn't going to be like diagonal stripes, grasses, barns, and if I had my clouds go in that direction, the whole thing would be, be like sliding off the page. So that's sort of something I'm thinking of before I even start. And the other thing is, if you watched my video of the drawing, I eliminated, these two buildings seemed a little close, so I made this one either smaller or moved this one over, so I got a little bit more space between that brick farmhouse and the 2 barns. Now, you don't need to do that, that's not critical. And of course, I think everyone agreed to leave out this white house way off to the right. It's just too bright. White is always a color or a value that catches your eye, and you want to put it at your center of interest, like maybe the white moldings on this house. So anyway, I just reminded myself, I want to leave some white trim on that brick farmhouse because it's sort of outlined in white, and it's kind of nice. All right, so we'll do this in stages as we've done before. I'll work on this whole sky piece first, then we'll work a little bit on some of the foreground things, and then obviously we start getting in. It's always working light to dark. So, down in here and the darks underneath the roof lines, those will be pretty dark. Cheapers. I know I see this line doesn't look very good. Well, if you get your perspective lines wrong, everything goes to hell. Okay, so I'm going to do the sky first. And I'll be using colors I don't use that often. I don't use the cobalt blue, even though it's a lovely color. I don't use it that often. So this is going to, some of these colors are going to be new for me, and it's sort of pushing me to
Are you going through the houses?
growth mindset. No, I'm not going over the houses. I'm going around.
Through just the whole sky area.
Yep. I am going down the tree trunks so that the sky color comes down into the tree trunks to start off. Let's see, we got a little bit more over here. And if you hit the roofs are fairly dark, or I see them as sort of dark against the sky. So if you get the water into the roof, don't worry so much.
Don't sweat it.
Don't sweat. Okay, I'm trying to get the big lumps of. Okay, good. Here we go.
So here's
All right.
Are you going right through the tree trunk?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So I am going to. Oops, I guess something happened over here. So what did I say I'm using? Cobalt Aureolin. Okay, Cobalt Aureolin and alizarin. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of. All right, I'm going to throw in some kind of yellowish tone. I'm not going to have white clouds, so if I have any, and I'm sort of, you can tell I'm not being picky about this, throwing in some of those colors in there as an underpainting. All right. Well, we're all just using red, yellow, and blue.
Yeah, I know, but.
So I just used a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow. I got kind of that sort of orangey brown. Okay, so here's my cobalt. I want a good. Now the water, the paper is wet, so I want to make sure my cobalt doesn't have too much water in it. Okay, so I'm gonna throw. You see, I'm doing a little bit of a diagonal here. My sections of blue are going up from left to right. Now I can paint for 8 minutes and then I'll stop and I'll let you paint. So if you're trying to keep up with me, you may miss some, or you may be trying to go too faster than you're comfortable doing. So that can be problematic.
What blue are you using?
Well, I'm using cobalt, but you've already decided what your red, yellow, and blue is, right?
Yes.
Good. Okay, and I'm going to get some more blue up here. Okay, now I'm going to... Okay, I like this kind of spotty sky here. Create some interest. The sky is 2/3 of the painting. And I'm going to... Cobalt alizarin. Okay, I got to keep remembering what I'm going to, in the yellow, I'm going to mix all three. There, oh, look at that. Okay, I want to get some dark clouds in here. So I'm going to get, Judy, you watching?
Dark clouds, I heard it.
Yeah.
Clouds overhead.
I got too much alizarin on my palette, so that's a problem. Okay, now I'm going to get this, because there's this wonderful feeling of light hitting those stone walls, and it sort of feels like there's been some clouds on this spring afternoon, and they've just parted, and you've got some clouds above that are just lifting. So, and again, I just using it more of a, oh boy, compositional element. Like I want something from left to right going up. And I want something dark up there to bring my eye down. So we can finish this up. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. And once the paper is pretty wet, you don't want to go back. I can't go back into the middle, or else I get these big blobs of caterpillar-like things. So be careful. Once an area gets wet, just try to hit it once. You can go back later on after it's dry, but don't go in when it's soaking wet.
And it's a humid day, Judy.
And it's a humid day here in Pauling, so nothing's going to dry very fast. So, okay, there you go. Have some fun with the sky. Dance around and see what the colors do for you. Ooh, I keep forgetting what colors are using. What's that? Oh, don't worry about those. No. Yeah, leave them. And then when the paint dries, you can sweep them right away. But if you try to pick them, you'll get your fingerprints all over them. That can be worse. Don't try to imitate the speed that I'm throwing my paints on because, if you watch someone dance across the floor and try to imitate their dance steps, it would look kind of clumsy.
At this age, you get hurt.
Yeah. So go at a pace that feels right for you. You're confident in, and you got the colors mixed the way you like them.
And may I ask what colors you're using again?
Well, my palette today is cobalt, alizarin, and aureolin. But you can pick any 3 colors that I suggested in the homework thing.
Is the lemon yellow too light of a yellow?
No, I've got aureolin, and that's pretty light.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's right now. And more careful. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start. I'll talk for a few moments. There's no way that you'd want to start painting barns up against the wet sky right now because the edges would just blur. You couldn't hold an edge. So where do you think the next place we're going to paint? The grasses. Yes. Now let's take a look. What's darker? The grass. What's in value? The grass or that stone wall? The grass is darker, right? So I think we ought to put a little bit of tone of the stone wall in next, because if we go light to dark, let's do the stone wall of just one tone, and then we'll do some of those yellow grasses, and then we'll get into some of that green stuff, the lawn, where the lawnmower would go. So, what color? Well, this is tricky. What color are those stones? It's kind of a gray, right? Yeah.
Grays and beiges.
Yeah. So I'm taking when you take red, yellow, and blue, and you mix them all together. So whatever palette colors you have, I'm mixing them together, and I'm just there. We go. I got. I want to get a little on the bluer side. Okay. So I'm going to paint all of the rock wall, the foundation here, of these walls here. And it's going to look dark on the computer. You're going to go, wow, that's not light. But this is one line here that goes from the barn right into this wall. And I'm going to go around that corner, get a little more color. Now I'm making it a little pinkier. It's okay for me. I'll get down in here, and even though this wall is turning slightly, the edge is going down now. I'm going to just paint it all the same color. And I'm not getting into the stones. I'm not getting into anything else. This building the stone is a little higher and a little yellowier than what was in the wall. I'm gonna put that in there. And if I hit that tree, it doesn't matter because the tree trunk is gonna be darker than the stone wall. So I'm gonna go, there's my whole stone wall is done. And it's just one tone over everything.
So now if I start putting bricks in, and I put bricks in after I paint it, I guess I draw right on top of paint. Brick lines on top of it.
Yeah, I do that after the paint dries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna take this foreground area, the grasses, and it's got an orangey cast to it, right? So I'm obviously using my red and yellow. Ooh. And I'm gonna, wow, look at that color. Okay, and I'm gonna make the line at the top of this is gonna be rather raggedy. I wanna get a sense of, wow, I should have a bigger brush. These grasses kind of coming up. Come on, sometimes you just want it to go faster. Okay, there we go. Keep that downward slope, left to right. I'm down underneath there. I'm gonna get a little bit darker down in here. I've added a little bit of blue to whatever color I had. And I'm just blending that edge. And I'll get this green coming in later on. Okay, I like that blended edge there. All right, now what the heck do I do? Well, I've got to figure out, like I can't come back into here with the green because it's gonna go into this nice ragged edge. I gotta wait on that. I am gonna do a little bit of green, blue and yellow right down here. And you can see how that's a lawnmower green. And there's no sharp edge because everything's so wet. So I'm leaving that. So this now, I think I get a little more color down here. Okay, there we go. Good
Are we
thing.
going to the bottom of the tree?
And what else am I going to do now? I'm trying to think of areas I can do while it's before it dries up on me. Okay, I'm going to do.
Or should come across the bottom of that house. Okay.
I think I see romper room. I see green. I see a green lawn up here. And it's not going to hit anything that's going to be too wet. So I'm going to put this in now. So, and some of you just have your barn right up to the house. So and you may not even have this piece of green. I'm also going to put a little piece of green coming down here. So it's coming around this barn here. And this is a fairly light green here. I'm putting it in up here where the the boat and the, what did you say? The boat and, Steve, what was it? The boat and the solar panels, yeah. So this is that, yeah, where that aqua thing is up there. Okay, so I've gone right up to my barn, and I'm not going to get into this. It's too wet. I'm not going to get into that. Okay, I'm gonna pause there because if I go any further, I'm gonna get into trouble. Or am I? No, I can do it. I'm gonna do just the green above or below the stone wall, and that's gonna be. Okay, so I'm going to, and this is a strong green down here. that early spring, it's a wonderful green you get because it's so intense. Certainly in the summer it turns more dusky, and so I'm trying to keep a okay. Trying to go around some of those edges of the grasses so the grass is sticking up into the green. Hopefully the grass still looks lighter. Okay. Here's another place where you don't want to leave any little white twinkles because they'll bug you later on. So I'm really just using blue and yellow to make this green really kind of simple. Down the hill. Okay, the stone wall is holding its edge, which is great. Okay, and vary the grasses. Sometimes the grass, a big chunk sticks up. Sometimes little wispies stick up. Don't make them all the same. Make sure your brush strokes are a little bit varied. You have different shapes. Variety is the spice of life.
You get heartburn though.
All right, I'll let you guys paint. I'm just finishing this little bit off. Whew. Karen, I'm gonna have to do yoga this week to get my shoulders loosened up again. I got all tense just then.
Right. It's supposed to be relaxed, right?
Right. Oh, a painting must be so relaxing. Yeah, right, whatever. The red one does. Okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah, it does. It does. I'm gonna see this farmhouse back here. So, yeah, I think this is all dry. Yeah, it's all good. Okay, so I'm gonna do that farmhouse in the back, and I see that as a brick farmhouse. Well, the others are okay. Little heavy on the reddish. Let me see how I like this. Okay, I gotta be careful here. I'm gonna leave a white trim on that house. And I'm gonna paint around the windows. I'm gonna leave the windows white for now. And it's interesting that era, these buildings have sort of an irregular fenestration. They're not evenly, two on either side of the door or whatever. They're not always lined up on top of each other.
Are you using straight red there?
No, I got a little bit of yellow in it just to get it on the orangey side. Okay, there's that. Okay, so what's the next thing I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do the barn, the side of the barn, which is gray. Dark. It's gonna be darker than the stone wall. Let's see how that looks. No, that's not dark enough. So I just put the color down there. I say it's not good enough. Let's put this in and see what I think of that. Nope, I still need more gray. There we go. Okay, keep it dark. This will eventually have a red. I'm going to put the red right over this line later. So I'm going to paint this whole barn one big color. This gray tone. And gray is always red, yellow, and blue. So if it starts to look too purple, add yellow. If it starts to look too blue, I don't know, add something else. Now I do see this side of the barn as being redder. I'm gonna dip into that a little. It's as though the sun bleached one side of it, but this side is a little bit redder. And I'm going to go right down into those bays down below where the tractors are kept, or back in the day where the animals would have stayed. And I'm going to do the same gray over here. This doesn't have any white trim, so I'm just throwing that bluish gray in. And I see this slightly darker as it turns the corner. And I have a dark area up here. And then that red tone comes back I'm going to paint red right through these garage doors. All right, so there we go. We'll take a pause there. And we'll come back with the roofs. Next we're gonna do roofs and the darks of the windows and a few things like that, and then we'll get to the trees.
You made the sides of the barns like more brown than red, and then the fronts more red, kind of.
Yeah, you want to keep in mind, I don't think I did a very good job. All the faces that aim toward the left is from where the light's coming from. Should be a
Yeah.
little bit lighter than those that are facing toward the right.
Okay.
And I don't think I got mine dark enough. I may have to go back into those. All right, I'm going to start in on the roofs now. And they're really very geometric, and they're dark. But what's going to be interesting is, while the roofs are very geometric, kind of diamond shaped or trapezoidal shaped, but not trapezoidal, rhombus shaped, we'll have the trees later on will be much more natural, free flowing shapes. So you'll have this contrast between the hard edges of the buildings and then the looser edges of the nature. So let me, we got to agree that the roofs are darker than the sides of the buildings, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and then some areas of the roofs just below the roof line, like down in here and under the shadow here, are pretty darn dark. They're even darker than the roofs. So here we go with some dark. So watercolor is always light to dark. So here I'm going to start with my cobalt blue and alizarin, which I don't want to get too much of because it's so strong. If it's looking too purple, I'll grab a little bit of yellow, and I'll get there. Oh, damn. All right. I'm using a flat brush, which works pretty well on edges because you can pull it right along and get a good sharp edge. Boy, oh boy. All right, I'm gonna do this one in the back. I do want to leave that white trim, so I gotta be careful there. This farmhouse that was probably sitting there around the Civil War era when the troops were running around in Pennsylvania. And this one is going to, and I got to keep that sharp downhill slope because of the perspective lines. Let's get a little more red into this one.
I didn't know you traveled south of White Plains.
I know, I really don't. Okay, now while I have that dark color in my brush, I'm going to drop it down into this almost like a shadow under there. Definitely a shadow under those little things. A little bit of an edge there. Gonna throw a little bit of more of an edge on this one. And while I have those wet colors, now take a look at this. I can take this line, I can draw a few indications of barn board, the texture of the wood there. Okay, I'm gonna go, and this has a red trim. I shouldn't be slave to it, but I kind of like the reddish of it. It'll go around this window. And there's a strip that goes right through here. And right down here. And then now I'm going to make some more of these little just, you don't have to do all of them. Long ones, short ones, medium ones. Vary them like you would notes on a piano. You don't want to. Okay, just a little hint of that. I'm going to do the same thing over here. This has the red trim. Red trim. Oh, I got a little roof here I forgot about. And the next thing I'm going to do, and then I'll stop. I'm going to put in the darks of the windows so that I have a window here. And this will make it so my roofs don't look like the only dark thing in the whole picture. Darken that window. A couple more darks up in here. There's a little window up here. And while I'm here, I'm going to do the darks inside the bays of these the storage spaces underneath the barn. How's that look? And I'm going to do a little bit darker tone on the stone wall that's not facing the sun. There's that. There's a little bit there, and then there's a little piece up here. Do a little line there. Little line there indicating the cap on it.
What color are you gonna make the dishwasher?
Dishwasher, what are you talking about? All right, how are we doing here? Put a good line here. Okay, we start dropping some darks in. Those buildings start to tighten up. Pretty good. Okay, that's a good stopping point there. So the roofs, the dark holes of the windows, and a few lines of texture on the walls. And Sharon, this is where you could start putting the texture on the rock wall if you wanted to, also. And while you've got this going through, take this, take this and go through there, because this tree I see is slightly lighter than the.
Yeah, okay, good
So
point.
you may as well, while you
Yeah.
can, lift it out. You don't have to lift it back to white, but just take some of that darkness off. Oh dear.
Ned,
Hmm?
what's the key to getting the overhang of the bone to look like it's an overhang, like, you making it lighter,
Well, it's darker underneath the overhang.
not under it, like this part now? Rather than making this all look like one big black thing, I see you made this a little lighter maybe?
you
To show a contrast.
you can take that reddish color and put it right in. See? Bring that back. There's a little, that gray color is going across there, and then the roof starts below it, you know what I mean?
To break it up.
Yeah. Right? Okay.
So this is all tree.
Yeah, that's true.
This is very green.
Oh, those look nicer.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Really
Is this
good.
another roof over here?
Yeah, I gotta get it, that's so dark already, I think that's almost like the darkest, not as dark as that, but it's pretty
Yeah,
close, so I gotta get that with that.
All right, I'm going to do a little lesson within a lesson. I'm going to take a new piece of paper, scrap piece of paper, and I'm going to show you one way of doing these trees. So while you guys were drinking your coffee, I drew a few more of these trees in. I'm drawing one right here. Now, take a look up here now. Don't draw a tree by coming up and then going like chicken feet like this. That looks sort of silly. The tree branches come off at different parts of the trunk. So when you draw those, you want to keep that in mind. Like this V is right here, this V is further down, this one is way up here. Now, as far as the canopy, and even whether it's foliage or, in this case, the dead branches, I'm going to take a mixture, and I'm going to go, see, I'm doing this using my brush. Sometimes I go right across the trunks. I'm creating kind of this and I leave some space. So then if I put my trunks in, I go like this, like this, like this, like this. You see how this is looking like a tree? And if it's off the page, you slop this in like this. And this is closer to us, so it's going to be a little darker. I'm using that dry brush look. Don't get too much water on your brush or it'll start to puddle. Then you can take
I can let you come over here, but I bite.
Are you putting leaves on your tree?
I'm putting in as I look at this picture, I see sections that are not solid. I'm not seeing through them, but they are. I gotta figure out which size brush I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use
Just
this.
gonna leave my dystopian clouds.
Okay. Well, we gotta break up that sky somehow, right?
The forest fire.
So I'm taking my red, yellow, and I see this is probably on the warm side. Come on. And let's see how we do here. I'm gonna take some of this tone up in here. You see where that's pretty strong up there, right? Then there's another tree over here that has branches that go out like that. This one way back over there.
And that's that stogie brush you have.
Yeah. All right, and I've got some other trees here. Now this one's closer to us, so I'll add a little bit darker tone. It's also over that dark cloud, so. There, I didn't like that one. Ugh. Okay, and then way up here,
So you're really doing botchy.
yeah, way up here, we got
It's
some of this
splotchy,
stuff
splotchy.
coming down. See, Ellen, I'm making it easy for you.
No, I think I'm gonna have to skip the trees on this one. It's unfortunate because I drew them in with pencil, but it's just too much.
It
I
just,
can't.
you just not happy, huh?
I can't.
You're too funny.
Have you considered doing like every individual leaf instead?
Yeah. That would be easier.
Right.
All right. So again, a little more. I got some branches come up here. Sometimes they go right through. I see. Ooh, gosh, I see some stuff down here. I think. Well, let's see what I'm gonna do here.
She's using more for brown.
Well, this is like the last day of winter instead of the first day of spring.
Yeah, right. It is.
That's how you
come on.
adjust your color palette.
And there's quite a bit of color over here. Big tone over here. It's a different kind of tree. This is fairly dark. Gets a little darker. Adding more. This one's almost. This so much stuff over here. It's almost solid. Okay, now I want to keep this sort of irregular. I don't want it to start to look. All right, now let's sit for a minute, a few seconds, and then I'm going to start with the tree trunks. And you can see that the tree trunks are light compared to the barns in some on the light sides of the trunks. So you got to watch this. And you can see right through, like these branches go right through the sections you've done. We're going to go back after this stuff dries and add another layer in here. So it's not just the one color. Try to feel the structure of the tree. Look at it. See what looks. Does it look right? Does it branches going off this way? Some curl the other way. So your dark stems are going to be dark over those blobs you put in. We're gonna let some of this.
Yeah, my problem is I can't do blobs.
Can you do the stems first? And then in the,
Try it.
in?
Okay, I'm gonna pause there. I'm gonna come back and make the stems darker on the right sides of them. But I gotta let these things dry out before I put more lines in, because they're diffusing a little bit as it is. I have some color in there, but it gets washed out as it gets into the watery tree parts. And the trees that are in the distance are going to be lighter in tone. All right, and now now we're into the fussy stuff. I'm going to do just some texture on the stone wall. And I'll be painting just the sections between the rocks, leaving the rocks the color that I already have it. And as you do your rock wall, remember the rocks often at the bottom are a little bit bigger than the ones because they needed to make a good foundation. So as you draw these, keep the shapes irregular. Steve, you want to outline the brick, some brick building here too?
What is the brush, Ned, we should use to make the trees,
Any round brush?
round?
Yeah, I think.
Round again? This one.
So once you get your trees in, then let them dry, because we're gonna go back and put in the trunks afterwards.
Oh, we are?
So I did it.
Well, we did some trunks, but we're gonna put some darker, the dark shadow sides of the trunks. So you wanna let some of that stuff dry. Yeah, you're fine the way you are. That's good. But if you wanted to get into some details, either, stone wall stuff like that, sort of set up.
Mm-hmm. You don't forget, I have something under,
What's that?
I have something underneath.
Yeah, oh, I know. Is it coming through?
It will,
Yeah?
yeah, it'll affect.
It's actually enjoyable.
What's that?
Doing the trees.
Oh, good. Great.
You know,
Are we gonna do splatters anywhere?
No, actually, geez, that wouldn't be fun. Should I do splatters in the front, just so we just keep that up?
Oh, Ellen's gonna love your brickwork.
I'm just. This looks too normal. I just don't have time.
No, you can do stone wall texture later on. This foreground, I think, I'm not happy with the foreground right now. It's,
Yours?
yeah.
Does this mean wait until you get your final picture?
It just looks like it needs more stuff in it,
Well,
Mine's kind of blank, but.
you need that balance to that side. Is that
I just need a little more darks down the lower left. I think I'll just go
Yeah.
back in there with some darks. There are also shadows that one big tree casts on the barn to the right. Now you can decide to put those in or leave them out.
And on the stone wall.
And on the stone wall, yeah. So,
My palette's beginning to look like my painting.
Oh, yeah.
Probably stop on my head.
Okay, I'm gonna finish this off with a few, my bottom left got dried out quite a bit. I'm gonna go back with a little bit more stronger green down there. And I'm adding a little bit of red into it so it's not, again, I'm just creating a feeling of foreground, unkept, unmanaged. And I'm going to do this. I'm getting some of this orangey color back in down here where I think it looks a little bit pale. Leaving the edges fairly light, so I have almost 3 layers of tone. The lightest right at the edge of the grass. In the middle. And the green right down. Now I am going to go back and darken in some of these trunks. Because I do see the right sides of them as being fairly dark. And the tree that's nearest to me is going to have some of the darkest trunks. The trees further away, it will have a slightly lighter tone. So again, I'm just doing the right-hand sides of this tree. And as you pull your brush along, if you start to pull it off the paper, the lines get thinner and thinner. Well, in most cases, I'm drawing the twigs right through the canopy marks that I made. Though you could choose to have the trunks only against the sky and have them obscured by the canopy. Oh, I know. A few shadows on this building here. And I think I'm going to stop here. I like the bits of glow still showing through in the sky where I put yellows or oranges before against the dark barns. I like the feeling of light hitting that stone wall and this rough grasses in front of the whole thing. So nice, and with just 3 colors, this boy, look at your piece. You know, could you believe 3 colors would get all that range? Yeah.